Friends, welcome to our online classes. This class we have to learn theories and applications of coordination compounds. Describing the theories of coordination compounds is very essential in understanding the nature of chemical bonding and reactivity. Many theories have been proposed, but some important theories are Werner theory, valence bond theory, and crystal field theory. Werner theory and valence bond theories have been proposed earlier, but the crystal field theory is a modern theory which has more advantages in rectifying the defects of old theories. The first one is Werner's theory. Alfred Werner suggested in 1893 that metal ions have primary and secondary valences. Primary valence equal the metal's oxidation number. Secondary valence is the number of atoms directly bonded to the metal. This is equal to the coordination number. He prepared one complex, that is a cobalt 3 complex. He isolated from cobalt chloride in aqueous ammonia and then oxidized this complex to the +3 oxidation state. The complexes have different colors and different empirical formulas. As notified in the tabular column, you see there are 4 types of complexes have been prepared by Alfred Werner. He doesn't know actual the nature of this bonding nature of this complex, but after preparing this complex he come to understand some facts about this bonding nature. There are 4 types of complexes have been prepared, both are different in color. So actually the first one is a cobalt COCl3 6NH3, COCl3 5NH3, COCl3 4NH3, COCl3 4NH3, but all are different. So if they are different means actually the structure will be different. So that's why he has proposed this theory. The first orange color complex, 6 amine ligands are inside, whereas 3 chloro ligands are outside the bracket. So this is orange in color. In the next one, 2 chloro ligands are outside and 1 chloro ligand is inside. The third and fourth, only 1 chloro ligands are outside, but one is trans, another one is cis. Because of this, there are 2 different colors. Trans is green in color and cis in violet color. Symbolize the first member of series CONH36Cl3 as shown below. In this presentation, the primary valency, that is a dotted lines, is satisfied by the 3 chloride ions. The 6 secondary valencies, that is solid lines, are satisfied by the 6 ammonia molecules. Werner proposed putting all molecules and ions within the sphere in brackets, and those free anions, that is dissociate from the complex ion when dissolved in water outside the brackets. So what he implies that those which are present outside the brackets will be dissociated into ions, whereas those ligands which are present inside the bracket will not be dissociated. So the first one is the primary valence, second one is the secondary valence. And the defects of Werner's theory, because this theory is fulfilling in some extent, it is a better theory, but it has a very important defects. There is the Werner's theory explains the structures of many coordination compounds effectively, but it does not elucidate the magnetic and spectral properties. So this is a very important defect of this theory. The next one is valence bond theory. Linus Pauling made the first successful application of bonding theory to coordination compounds, closely related to hybridization and geometry of non-complex compounds. The structures of complexes may be rationalized by the hybrid orbitals. So this valence bond theory is very good in explaining the hybridization and the geometry of the coordination complex. The formation of a complex ion, according to this theory, the filled ligand orbital overlaps with the empty metal ion orbital. The ligand, there is a Lewis base, donates the electron pair, and the metal ion, Lewis acid, accepts it to form one of the covalent bonds of the complex ion. That's a Lewis adduct. When one atom in bond donates both electrons, the bond is referred to as a coordinate covalent bond. The number and type of metal ion hybrid orbitals occupied by ligand lone pairs determine the geometry of the complex ion. Now see one example how an octagonal ion is formed according to the valence bond theory. So how the hybridization is taking place here. You see this a complex of chromium and the ligand is amine ligands. How this hexamine chromium 3 ion is formed. You see, first the chromium 3 plus. Chromium 3 plus is in D3 configurations. There is a 3 electrons present in the d orbital. So it has 3 electrons in the first 3 orbital and 2 other orbitals. There is a totally 5 orbitals, and 3 orbitals are occupied by 1 electron each, and 2 orbitals are empty. And then there is a 4s orbital is also empty, and 4p orbitals are also empty. But you see here, this amine is not a stronger ligand. There is no pairing of electrons is taking place. That's why for ligands, because the 6 ligands are there, each ligand will donate a pair of electrons. So totally 12 electrons can be donated by all 6 ligands, amine ligands. So now to adopt the all 12 electrons, 2 each in each orbital, there is a availability of 2 d orbital and 1 s orbital, 4s orbital, and 3 p orbitals. That's why the all 12 electrons are occupied in the d2, 4s, and 4p. So it is a d2 sp3 hybridizations. So now the hybridization is taking place as d2 sp3 hybridization. So this hybridization, d2 sp3 hybridization, gives a octahedral complex. Next, we have to see how a square planar complex is formed by the valence bond theory. You see, this is a nickel complex. This is a tetracyanonickelate 2 ion. How this complex is formed? You see, the nickel 2 plus ion is a D8 configurations. So as it's a D8 configurations, you see these are all 8 electrons are filled in the d orbitals as first 3 orbitals are paired up according to the Hund's rule, and last 2 orbitals are having 1 electron in the each. These are last 2 orbitals. But here the cyanoligand is a stronger ligand. So what is happened here? The cyanoligand is pairing up the last 2 electrons into the 4th orbital. So that's why the last 5th orbital is empty. The last 5th d orbital is empty. That's why 1 orbital d orbital is available, and 4s orbital and 4p orbitals are available. But only 4 ligands. That is the cyanoligand, only 4 ligands. So it will go to occupy the 1 d orbital, 1 4s orbital, and 2 p orbitals. So the dsp2 hybridization is taking place, and this dsp2 hybridization giving the square planar complex. Thus the tetracyanonickelate 2 ion complex is formed by dsp2 square planar complex. One is the formation of tetrahedral complex by the valence bond theory. You see, this is a zinc complex. There is a tetrahydroxo zinc 2 ion. So here the zinc 2 plus is d10 configurations, and all 10 orbitals, 10 electrons are occupied in the d orbitals. So it's a completely filled orbitals, and only availability is 4s and 4p. That's why the 4 hydroxyl ligands will donate a pair of electrons to 1 4s orbital and 3 4p orbitals. So sp3 hybridization is taking place here, and because of the sp3 hybridization, the structure of the complex is a tetrahedral complex. Now this zinc tetrahedral complex is formed by sp3 hybridization. In this slide, the table has been presented. This table shows the different types of hybridization with some examples. First, you see this is a linear molecule is formed by sp hybridization. The example is a silver complex, diamine silver 1 ion. The next one is a tetrahedral complex is a sp3, is a cadmium complex, tetramine cadmium 2 ion. The next one is a dsp2 square planar complex. It is a tetrahydroxo copper 2 ion. And the next one is a trigonal bipyramid. There is a dsp3 pentacarbonyl ion. The next one is a square pyramidal d2sp2 tetrachloromanganese 2 ion, manganate 2 ion. The next one is the octahedral d2sp3 hexacyanoferrite 2 ion. So these are all some examples and different types of hybridization. So now what we have to infer from this valence bond theory? Valence bond theory is somewhat, some extent, is a better theory in explaining the hybridization and some geometry of the coordination complexes. And despite these things, some defects also being noted in these theories. Okay. Theory is a very important theory. It's a crystal field theory. this is a very modern theory. This crystal field theory was proposed by the physicists Hans Bethe and John Hasbrouck von Kluck in 1930. According to the crystal field theory, the bonding in complex ions is purely electrostatic. What is meant by electrostatic? The electrostatic is nothing but the nucleus, the metal ion is positively charged, and the ligands are most probably they are electron rich, they are negatively charged. So the attraction between the central metal ion and the ligands is purely the electrostatic. These are positive negative attractions. There is no any other bond type electron delocalization or anything is there. It's theory is proposed only that there is a attraction between the positive central metal ion and the negative ligand. So this is known as electrostatic. And then that the complex is regarded as a combination of central metal ion surrounded by ligands which act as point charges or point dipoles. Most probably they are negative charges, so they are considered as a point dipoles or point charges. The attractive forces arise due to the positive metal ion and the negatively charged ligands or the negative end of the polar neutral molecules. So this attractive force is only due to because of this already I told that is electrostatic attraction between the positive metal ion and the negative end of the ligand. And if because of this attraction what is happened, both are coming very close to each other, and at the same time what is happened, there is a repulsive force is also arising between the lone pairs of the ligands and the electrons and the d orbitals of the metal or atom. So the crystal field theory is very mainly focuses on this repulsive force. Because of this repulsive force, what is happened? The splitting of d orbitals is taking place. You see the orbitals, d orbitals, actually there are 5 d orbitals, that is a dxy, dyz, dzx, and ds squared minus y squared and dz squared. So there are 5 d orbitals. But all 5 d orbitals are not having the same orientations. You see first 3 orbitals, that is a dxy, dyz, dxz or dzx are oriented in between the axis. So they are collectively known as T2g orbitals, and they are degenerate, triply degenerate. And other 2 orbitals like such as dx squared minus y squared and dz squared orbitals are oriented along the axis. So they are collectively known as the EG orbitals. They are twofold degenerate. Degeneracy means equal energy. So these are all these EG orbitals are called axial orbitals, and T2g orbitals are called non-axial orbitals. So because of this difference in the orientation of the d orbitals, the splitting is taking place by the approach of the ligands towards the central metal ion. Now how a octahedral complex is formed according to the crystal field theory? Actually, in the free transition metal ion or atom, all the 5 d orbitals are same energy, have same energy. That is a T2g orbitals, 3 T2g orbitals and 2 EG orbitals are equivalent in energy. They are degenerate. But when the ligands are approaching towards the central metal ion or atom, the electrons of the d orbitals of the central metal ion or atom are repelled by lone pairs of the ligands. So now the central metal ion is at the center. Ligands are approaching towards the central metal ion. So what is happened? There is a electron repulsion taking place between the electrons present in the d orbitals of the central metal ion and the electron rich ligands. So because of this electron repulsion, the splitting is taking place. As a result of these interactions, the degeneracy of the d orbitals of the metal ion is lost depending on the orientation of the ligands in space. And also the T2g orbitals and EG orbitals are differently oriented. The splitting is taking place. Those orbitals which are very near to face approaching or EG orbitals, they are on the axis. The ligands are also approaching along the axis. That's why the EG orbitals are directly facing the ligands. That's why the electron repulsion is more highly experienced by the EG orbitals. So their energy is increased. So their energy is lifted high. Whereas the T2g orbitals are oriented in between the axis. They are not directly in direct contact or facing the approaching ligands. So they are having the less interactions or less repulsion. That's why they are going. Their energy is decreased. So that's why EG orbitals are going up and the T2g orbitals are going down. So this type of splitting of d orbitals is known as crystal field splitting. The energy gap between these two Eg and T2G orbitals are known as crystal field stabilization energy or crystal field splitting energy. So this slide shows to many different geometry of the coordination complexes. The top of this slide there is an octahedral case and the tetrahedral case. These two cases, whereas the octahedral cases the T2G orbitals are lower, Eg orbitals are higher. And then the gap between this Eg and T2G are somewhat very higher in octahedral. Whereas the second one is the tetrahedral case. Here also the Eg orbitals are is a lower energy, whereas the T2G orbitals is a higher energy, just opposite to the octahedral case. But the energy gap is somewhat very lower because of this some important fact that here only these T2G orbitals are not exactly facing the ligands. That's why the energy gap is somewhat lower here. And other geometries are also being presented in this slide, like square bipyramid and square planar are also being here, and how these are split up into different energy levels, and this diagram is easily explained. So now we see that the crystal field theory is a very good theory when compared with this valence bond theory and Werner theory, because it is easily explaining the actual splitting of d orbital, as well as it is very interestingly explaining the color of the complexes. Already in the previous video we have discussed about the color of the complexes, and the color of the complexes actually is very excellently explained by this crystal field theory. So crystal field theory is very easily the spectral properties and the color of the complexes can easily explained by this crystal field theory. So crystal field theory is somewhat very advantageous, but the one defect of this crystal field theory is actually the attraction, that is the connection between the bonding between there is no any bonding character or anything it is mentioned by this crystal field theory. Only is the electrostatic attraction between the center metal ion and the ligands. So but it doesn't bother about the any delocalization of electrons between the center metal ion and the ligands. But actually this will be clarified, or this defect is rectified by one more modern theory that is known as a molecular orbital theory. But actually this theory is not included in the NEET syllabus. So now we end up this theories, this crystal field theory. The last slide of this presentation is biological applications of coordination compounds. So actually coordination compounds have many applications industrially, chemically. So many applications are there even in medical field and biochemically. But especially we have to see about these biological applications. Actually these coordination compounds play many important roles in animals and plants. They are essentially in storage and transport of oxygen. So this is a hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a complex, you see, because the hemoglobin means hemo means there is a ion is present as a central metal ion, and 4 boring ligands are present as a ligand. So that's why this is a complex. Actually this hemoglobin is there is a red blood corpuscle that is a carrier of oxygen and electron transfer agents, and as well as catalysts and in photosynthesis. So many applications of this coordination complex is playing a very important role, crucial role in for biological applications. And then vitamin B12. The vitamin B12 is a complex of cobalt with aqua tridentate ligand, which is similar to 4-binding ligand of hemoglobin. It has been observed that vitamin B12 is active only when cobalt is present in +1 oxygen state. If it is present in the +1 oxygen state, the cobalt is present, then it is very active. It is a red crystalline substance which is slightly soluble in water. It is not found in plants but is found in animal tissues. It is present mainly in milk, eggs, cheese and meat. It is essentially growth factor for many microorganisms. And next point is most of the plants require the number of nutrients for healthy growth. Because of the growth of the plants, the many transition metals content is very essential. So the essential nutrients include the number of metals such as iron, zinc, copper, manganese, molybdenum, etc. For example, the deficiency of iron brings a disorder in plants known as iron chlorosis. This disorder affects the yield of fruit from citrus trees. And the coordination complex is very useful in medical field also. So the complex of calcium with the EDTA, there is a calcium EDTA complex, is used for the treatment of lead poisoning. Lead poisoning is one of the adverse effect in the industrial field. It can be treated with treatment with this EDTA calcium complex. The lead readily replaces calcium in the complex, and lead EDTA complex is finally eliminated from the body in urine. The platinum complex, there is a cisplatin, dichlorotetramine platinum, known as a cisplatin, is used as an anti-tumor agent in the treatment of cancer. So the coordination complex plays a very important role in the biological applications. So this is the end of this slide. So now the coordination chemistry come to the end, and I hope this will be very useful for chemistry learners. And then the next video we will discuss some important objective type questions on this coordination compounds and answers also, and with some clarifications. So we see in the next class. Thank you for watching.